Welcome, dear viewers, to an extraordinary journey into the past. Today, we find ourselves at the site of one of the most fascinating archaeological discoveries in England, Cookham Abbey. Once a thriving Anglo-Saxon monastery, lost to time, its secrets are now being unearthed by dedicated archaeologists. What was life within these sacred walls? Who lived, prayed, and worked here centuries ago? Through remarkable discoveries, graves, artifacts, and remnants of ancient structures, we are beginning to piece together the story of this once important religious center. Cookham Abbey is believed to have been a powerful and influential monastery, possibly connected to Queen Cynethryth, wife of King Offa of Mercia. But why did it disappear from history? And what can it remains tell us about Anglo-Saxon life, faith, and society? Today, we will step into the world of early medieval England, exploring the groundbreaking research and astonishing finds that bring this lost abbey back to life. This is Time Stream, and our journey into history begins now.
So some of the small finds that we've got, such as the coins, are really useful in terms of dating. We can work out then if we're in the correct context and the correct layers, and finding the things that we're expecting to find or hoping to find. So we've got some silver shatter coins. This indicates lots of trading coming through here. So some of them are quite easily visible with the descriptions and the stamps, and we'll get a specialist to look at these and clarify dating. This particular coin is 8th century, so we know that we're in the right context and finding the correct things. Some of them will need cleaning up before we can actually date them and see clearly what they are. Some of the nice finds that we've got, this iron knife came out of Trench 3, and it's a complete iron knife, even with some of the remains of the handle, presumably. So some organic material there, and on the end there's some capping and a rivet. So we'll send that off to be looked after by and conserved, and they can hopefully x-ray it and we can get some more information from that date-wise. So the rarer items from this Anglo-Saxon site would be glass. It's much rarer than from the Roman time. So we do small find all the pieces of glass that are here, and we have a particularly nice fragments of glass here with this reticella trails. Again, this gives us specific dating for the Anglo-Saxon period. So this is probably from a beaker, and it's actually dark green glass and very special to find, so it's lovely. And what else have we got? We've got some copper alloy small finds, and one of the nice objects from here is this copper alloy pin. It's very small, so most likely something to do with the head and the hair or dress fittings. It's too small to be really something for a skirt or cloak, but it's unusual to get it complete, and it is very small. And I think copper alloy pins are particularly related to females and the presence of women. And obviously if we've got the monastery and the nuns here, that's quite a good indication of we're finding what we're expecting to find.
My name's Libby. I'm a first year student at the University of Reading. I'm doing an archaeology and anthropology joint honours degree, and we're currently excavating a grave. We believe the grave's been disturbed since the bones don't really match up and they're jumbled and a mess. They're not exactly a nice even skeleton as many other graves are. For example, we found quite a lot of ribs, some vertebrae and skull, but we haven't found any humerus or we haven't found the leg bones either, which makes us believe this grave was disturbed and later reburied. We're finding all sorts of things in this pit since it was an old graveyard near the nunnery, and I just think it's good what we're doing. We found lots of stuff. We're taking measurements so we can mark it down on the plan. Now the plan is really important for context, so we know what's been dug up. It's a way of keeping records, really. It's said in archaeology, for every hour you spend digging, you spend 2 doing paperwork. So it's important to write things down so we know what we know.
My name's Rory. I'm the environmental manager here on site, and I'm teaching flotation to the students. Basically, whilst they're on site, they will come across a feature. There's some burials to our right, and for example, when they excavate these burials, they fill up tubs of mud. They do this for every feature, so a well, a post hole, a ditch, and then that's all bagged up. It's labelled so we know exactly where it is from the site, and then it comes to this processing place up here. We take how many litres in the sample and we write it down. And then we wash through the mud and we get rid of all the silt, and we're left with the organic remains that rise to the surface in the flotation tank. Yes, and we have a dried sample here to our right on the table, which we just finished, and then we have a washing line where we have a washing line where we hang up the flots. So we have the flots here. In danger of it all falling to pieces. But yeah, we have all the organic remains that rise to the surface. This could be like charcoal or seeds or even shells. And basically the charcoal, if it's a large piece of charcoal, we can radiocarbon date that and have a more clearer picture of what's going on site.
My name's Mark Griffiths. I'm a first year at Reading University. Who can be seen as one of the first major rulers that ruled over a decent portion of England, known as Mercia. And in Cookham, we're just finding a lot of artefacts, things like coins, bones, and such. And we're also finding a lot of context as to what the site was like. This place was a nunnery, and it was also a bit of an industrial centre. We've been finding boneware, metalworking, things like that. And yeah, it's got a lot of history. I'm quite interested in a lot of the metallurgy, a lot of the ironworking that's been going on here. Been some good finds, coins and such, but there's also been, we found maybe a large building, the theory is, from the post holes.
This is an installation on an archaeological site in Cookham, and it's an arrangement in the symbol of an Anglo-Saxon symbol which is meant to be Mercia, and it's found on the back of a Queen Cynethryth coin which was excavated in Kent. And I chose this symbol because it's now being used by Cookham, Friends of Cookham Abbey, which is a charity which is raising funds for the analysis of all the finds in Cookham. It's made of shower heads because there's a company in Cookham which supplies shower heads to the NHS, and the NHS replace those shower heads every 4 months. And when they replace them, they come back to Cookham to another company called Cookham Waste and Recycle, and they recycle these shower heads so that they don't end up in landfill, and so that, you know, in hundreds of years' time, hopefully these won't be found by future archaeologists. And so it's in this place because it's near a dig where we're looking back into 700 to 900, a significant time in Anglo-Saxon times, and it's just to get people thinking about how we view finds from the past and how we view waste now. And it's set slightly back from the trenches so that it's not absolutely in sight of the trenches. We've got the spoil heap behind it. But one point it can do is that when they do drone shots going up into the air to do research shots for the whole of the dig, that emblem of the Mercia will be on all those shots. So that's quite a nice way to record this place.
My name's Andrew Thurley from Thurley Plant, and basically I do the excavations for Reading University for their archaeological digs. And this
Is Andy.
Andy Burrell from Mortimer, in the same village as myself, who's volunteered to drive the dumper to create the spoil heaps for us and do all the excavations as a team. And basically I've been doing the excavation for Reading University for a number of years at Silchester, a lot of excavations there and backfilling, and really got interested into the archaeological side of things, which made it interesting for me. And Andy is very interested in that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, I am indeed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history in our family, and this was a chance to come and get involved in a real live dig. And for me, it was a fantastic learning experience to see it happen right from the start. I've been a friend of Andy's for many, many years, and he was kind enough to invite me to come and help him with the dig, moving the soil around into these spoil heaps that you can see around here. And I must say, every day we were here, for me, was a school day. And as a teacher for 35 years, I know what a school day looks like. But this one was a special one, particularly with all the people that we met, learning about the different approaches to revealing a site like this. So, yeah, most enjoyable for me.
And we actually found some interesting stuff. So yeah, uncovered, I should say, because it's very early stages on the excavations for what we find. We don't really see a lot of what the students and people dig out, and it's really fantastic to come back and see after their hard work of actually uncovering by skeletons and all the other roadways and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fantastic.
And this is the second year, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, second year for me.
And to come back now, when everything's been opened, and to see them in real life does bring it all together, and again makes it fantastically interesting. The amount of work that goes on here is just incredible. I mean, the endeavour, people on their hands and knees, day in, day out, is quite impressive.
Yeah,
most impressive.
We use machinery.
We did, yeah, we used machinery. We didn't get on our hands and knees as such, but it was, really great experience.
Hiya, I'm Anna. I'm currently working on the well, and this well has been cut into the road, so it's a later feature. So currently we're squaring it off in order to make it safer, and then we'll put shoring in so that we can go deeper, and then hopefully there'll be some waterlogged material at the bottom.
My name is Ewan. I'm helping out here on the site right now in Trench 1. Right now I'm digging a post hole. Right now I'm digging that up, so what I need to do is essentially excavate that, half of it, and then just to define it and see where exactly the post hole is. As you can see, there's like a number of post holes around the site. That's because when a sort of post hole became rotten, they, rather than take the whole post hole down, they essentially put up a new one directly next to it, adjacent to it, and then the old one would be taken down eventually.
So my name is Thomas. I am an archaeology student here at the University of Reading, and I will be spending the last 2 weeks of this dig working over in Trench 2, where we think we have at least a part of the cemetery from the monastery here. So far that's turning out to be a really interesting trench because we have a lot of different burials and a lot of burials that have been sort of done in different ways. There's some suggestion that we've got later burials on the same site as earlier ones, so it's a really interesting kind of puzzle for us to disentangle. I came here not knowing that this is what we found, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it's been a really good site to excavate. And I was here 2 years ago when we were first test pitting it, but missed last year, so it's really nice for me to come and see how the site has developed and how much more we found and how much we've expanded what we already know. And I'm hoping that over the last 2 weeks of the dig we'll be able to add even more to that and hopefully answer some of the questions we have, but maybe also ask some new questions, because that's what keeps it interesting, is having new things we want to find out, new kind of puzzles to solve, and more research to do, so that hopefully we'll be able to keep coming back here for a long time yet.
Hello, my name is Jonathan and I'm an archaeology student at the University of Reading. I'm taking this archaeological field school as a module, so I'm being assessed on my excavations here. I've been here for the past 2 weeks and I'll be here for the duration of the excavation. For the first 2 weeks I spent my time in Trench 2 working on the cemetery cleaning and then excavating one of the graves where we found, I believe to be a 6 foot tall male, which is very tall for the Anglo-Saxon period. So that is a very good find considering the conditions of the bones were also excellent. And in weeks 3 and 4, I'll be working behind me in Trench 1, looking to find some buildings where I'm currently excavating a post hole, and hopefully I'll find some good finds indicating as to life in Cookham during the Middle Anglo-Saxon period, such as jewellery, pottery, and maybe even, if we're very lucky, a coin, which would be the best find we could possibly hope for.
Hi, my name's Olivia and I work here on the Cookham site as a sort of social media manager type of person, where I go around and I film videos of the people working and I take photographs of everyone at work and I upload them to the social media for the Archaeology Society at the University of Reading, as well as sending the videos over to the staff members so that it can be uploaded to the department's Instagram.
Hi, I'm Louis. I'm a third year undergraduate student at the University of Reading, and I am currently working on my dissertation about portable X-ray fluorescence analysis, in which I'm using it at the Cookham Field School here. This is the portable X-ray fluorescence analyzer. It's an incredible piece of technology and it's very accessible and easy to use. It utilizes X-rays so that we can figure out the chemical composition of soil, of different bones or different finds. What I'm looking at specifically is the difference between the chemical composition of porous lesions on bones and regular archaeological bone. But while working here, what we found is that there are a huge amount of possibilities for using PXRF. One of the great things about it is that it can be used to distinguish between individuals in commingled remains. So if you've got a bunch of bones jumbled up, you can quite easily assign them to each different individual. It can be also used to look at the different chemical compositions in the soil between different types of burials, as well as helping to distinguish what certain features might be in a trench. So if we were to analyse a hearth, we might be looking for spikes in levels of phosphorus, of potassium, of magnesium, and since it's portable, it's really easy to use in the field, but it can also be used in the stand. I can show you an example of how it works. So this is obviously just to show you. Obviously we wouldn't be doing this on grass. What we do is we just place the nozzle of the machine against a sample that we want to take when it's in handheld mode, and you can see that there is a view of the camera there. Then all we would do is hold down on the trigger for 120 seconds. Then, after those 120 seconds are up, we will have all of the data that we need about the sample, and it will look something like this, where everything will be shown in parts per million. So in a sample, we'll see the amount of phosphorus, aluminium, iron, and all of those different things in parts per million. The way that it works is it fires X-rays at a sample, and when a sample becomes agitated by the X-rays, the electrons in the atom are fired out in a way. And in a very simple way, the PXRF machine is capable of calculating what a chemical is based on the amount of energy that it gives off when it's agitated by the X-ray.
Here we've got some Roman tile. On this site there was Roman tile used from locally and repurposed here, and got a nice piece of tile here with actually a footprint, most likely a doggy, and so that's always nice to see, because you can associate with that a bit more, the people and what was going on in that time. So when they were making these tiles, they would lay them out to dry, and obviously you've got animals and children running around and running across them, so that's always a lovely find.
I'm Shania, I'm a first year with the University of Reading, and I found a finger with a ring still on it in one of the graves today. We've been digging up the skeletons from their graves today to be analysed, and while trying to get up a arm, we came across this lovely iron ring on the finger. We're not entirely sure what it's used for yet, but it's the only skeleton we found like that so far. But we do think it's maybe for healing.
It's the penultimate day of our excavations. We finish tomorrow. The end of a 4-week field season, and a very, very busy field season for us. We've found some amazing archaeology this year that surpassed, I think, our expectations considerably on what we thought we might find. So we know so much more about the Anglo-Saxon monastic settlement and landscape that existed here 1200 years ago than we did at the same stage last year. So just to run you through some of the major discoveries and highlights. So we now know that we have one of the main buildings from the core of the monastery, a timber building, a residential building that may well have served as a refectory for the monastic brethren that lived here. So very rare to get these buildings of this type, this date. We found an amazing well that formed part of the settlement, with a preserved wooden barrel lining in the bottom, and lots of wooden and leather and other objects that were discarded into the well when it went out of use. We found an amazing feature at the northern end of our site. Still not 100% sure of what it is, but it may well be a leat for an Anglo-Saxon watermill. Watermills were considerable infrastructure and technology for this period, and the close association with monasteries. We found a very substantial Anglo-Saxon cemetery that would have formed one of perhaps several within this wider monastic landscape. We found some really interesting burial archaeology as part of the cemetery. We know it was used over multiple generations, perhaps for a span of 150 or 200 years. We've got some really interesting insights into the contemporary population. We have individuals of different genders, of different ages buried there, and using a variety of different practices within the general rite of east-west burial. We have coffins, for example, represented, as well as shroud burials. And on top of all of that, we've had a wonderful array of artefacts of the 8th and 9th centuries AD. We've had some wonderful vessel glass from high-status vessels that may have been imported from the continent. We've had an exceptional variety of Anglo-Saxon pottery. We've had very interesting dress accessories. We've had more delicate pins made of silver and bronze. So, you know, really it's been amazing all round, and it's, you know, a lot to reflect on. You know, we've got to go back now and think about the results carefully, do some analyses on targeted finds. We need to do radiocarbon dating. So, you know, our thoughts will develop on what we found this year, will develop fast over coming weeks and months as we do that analysis. But overall, it's been a remarkable season of archaeology, demonstrating just the huge research potential of this site at Cookham. And we still have so much more to learn.
As we conclude our journey through the archaeological wonders of Cookham Abbey, we leave with a deeper appreciation of its historical significance. Through buried artifacts, ancient structures, and fascinating discoveries, we have uncovered glimpses of a lost Anglo-Saxon world, one of faith, power, and daily life. Each excavation brings us closer to understanding the people who once walked these sacred grounds. Though centuries have passed, their stories continue to emerge from the earth, rewriting history piece by piece. This is Time Stream. See you next time.